wrote about it earlier this week. What should Tennessee fans know about where things stand now with Tennessee and the NCAA case related to the Jeremy Pruitt era?
The first thing would be that Tennessee is continuing to have conversations with the NCAA, continuing to try to negotiate a settlement. I think it's phrased negotiated resolution. Tennessee, I think probably a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, felt that maybe that it was likely headed toward a committee on infractions hearing for the university's part of it. I think they're more optimistic now that they can potentially get something done in a negotiated resolution, which is always more favorable. Schools would much rather not have to go before the committee on infractions and negotiate a resolution. That's whether it's Tennessee or anybody, and that's where they are now. And if it's a committee on infractions hearing, gosh, who knows when that might be? It could be in the summer, it could be later in the fall. But I think if Tennessee's going to negotiate a resolution, I think there's something that could happen, within the next month or so. I think they feel much better about that possibility now than they would a month ago.
You think what happened with baseball and Tony Vitello, you think that is one of the reasons why it hasn't been resolved? Because the investigation into Maui Ahuna is something that just didn't start last week. It's been going on for months and months and months. Do you think the baseball situation hurt the Pruitt investigation as far as being able to close it up and move forward?
Yeah, I don't know if it hurt it, Jason. I think probably it just kept the compliance department really busy for the last several months, I mean, they've been going at both of these. And I think I'm glad you brought that up with the baseball situation. This is not something that just reared its head in the last month or two. I mean, this has been going on since last fall. And the NCAA has been on campus a couple times. I'm talking about the Maui Vitello baseball situation. So they've been having discussions, meeting with people. I don't know why at the last minute that when he was ruled ineligible, because his parents are flying out to Phoenix. That seemed a little odd that would happen. And then after that, the next when Tennessee got home, Tony was suspended for the 3 games. But my information on that is that's pretty much a done deal now as far as baseball. And unless something else comes up, which is always the case. I mean, when you get NCAA investigators on your campus and they're digging, they're asking questions, and they're finding out and talking to other people, there's always a chance that other things could pop up. I think as far as Tennessee's concerned, they feel like the penalties that have been, the self-imposed 3-game suspension for Tony. I don't know how the Maui missed 8 games, something like that. That number of games will suffice, and they've got that part of it behind them. I don't know that the football thing was delayed because of that. I just think the compliance department of Tennessee's been pretty busy for a while. I think Tennessee's big beef with the violations is the failure to monitor charge, Swain. I think that's the one that they most confess, that there was a failure to monitor allegation across the entire department, and that basically they're saying that it was the coaching staff, some rogue, quote unquote rogue, or people that went out as individuals and did these things, and not something that the people in the athletics department or administration should necessarily have known about.
Chris Lowe, ESPN.com. It's also pointed out often, hey, we're in an NIL era now. Shouldn't this stuff be allowed? What should people know about where things are moving forward with the NCAA, how they're going to handle NIL stuff? From you have the Maui Ahuna situation, Miami, report related to Texas A&M yesterday. Where are we moving forward now that we're in the NIL era?
The NCAA, Josh, continues to say that they're going to be aggressively pursuing this stuff. That when I say this stuff, things that are happening before a player gets on campus. That if you're buying a player out of high school, or if you're signing a guy to a deal and he's getting a $300,000 signing bonus and another $300,000 bonus when he gets on campus, there's things that they're going to try to crack down on these things. Now, my my take on it is, yeah, I want to see it to believe it. I don't know that they've got the teeth to do so. I don't know that, when you start going after the bigger schools that are doing these things, because to some degree, everybody is trying to use NIL as a guise to induce players to your campus. And that was always going to be the case. I mean, it was never going to be, all right, Hendon Hooker gets on campus, he becomes a star quarterback. All dealerships want him to endorse their vehicle. Restaurants, want to come in, and so we're going to pay him. These deals are going to be worth $1 million, $800,000 because he's able to capitalize on his name, image, and likeness. That's what the NIL is supposed to be, right? But it was always going to be used to attract players to campus. And anybody who thinks otherwise is just stupid. And that's where we are right now. The NCAA says they're going to try to stand pat on that, and they're going to enforce it. They're going to go look at try to hammer the schools are egregiously doing this type of thing. I don't know how you separate the two at this point. I think that the toothpaste is out of the tube, and I guess we're going to see. I did laugh. Oh, did you guys laugh when you saw that they had quote unquote cracked down with two women's athletes in Miami because they were having a meal or something or doing something before they got to campus? I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. And you got other reports out here of kids getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. You got $1 million deals or Rashad deal. Even the report on Nico and what he was what his deal was supposedly worth before he got to campus. And they get two women's athletes at Miami that they're going to crack down on. So that's why I've got to believe it. I got to see it to believe it. And I don't know that they really can do that. I don't know that they are able to at this point with the way NIL is set up and the fact that we got to this point. I just don't know that you can go back and put that toothpaste back in the tube.
What are you expecting to see Saturday when the Tennessee basketball team goes down to Auburn without Zakai Ziegler? Auburn looks like they're on the bubble. Had an opportunity to help themselves last night against Alabama, fell short, and Bruce was hotter than fish grease with some of those calls late in the game. But what are you expecting to see this weekend down on the Plains?
Yeah, I bet you Tennessee will fight like hell. I mean, I just know the way this team is wired, and I know how much Zakai meant personally, not just as a player, to all the kids on that team and staff. And you saw how well they played without him. I think a lot of that just was hard. And how much they hurt for him, and they were able to channel that into playing so well and just pounded Arkansas inside the paint. Absolutely hammered in there. I think with Zakai out of the lineup, guys, they've got to continue to try to do that. Certainly teams, they have a little bit of size advantage on. I'd say they'd probably try to do that to Auburn. Auburn will be ready. Auburn's not played well in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But you guys know Bruce and the way he motivates his teams, and he understands, or they understand, that they lost Tennessee in sort of a controversial ending. And so I bet you, even though that had to be a gut-wrenching loss for Alabama, to be up 17 against the number one team in the country on their court, you can't hold it, lose in overtime. And once again, there's some questionable calls there. I would think they would be ready to play. But I guess there's another school of thought is, are they deflated after having lost so many close games to good teams? I would lean toward an Auburn team that comes in ready to play. Tennessee's going to have to match their intensity in the way they play against Arkansas tonight to win that game. But it's a big game. I think it's a big game for both teams because you go into the tournament, think about it from Auburn's perspective. If you lose again on your home court to Tennessee after the last 2 weeks they've had, then I think that team goes into the postseason wondering, what, who are we? Do we belong? If they win, they got to feel better about themselves. For Tennessee, I think it's a way they really need to win this game. I'm pretty sure to get that double bye, if I'm not correct, and also to win again without Zakai. I think that's going to be important because the committee will weigh the way Tennessee plays without him, which I know to some people that might seem unfair, but it's the way it's always been. Now, they played 90% of the game without him the other night, be a very good Arkansas team. if they can beat Auburn without him on the road, and they're pretty well in the SEC tournament without him, I don't think their seed will be affected. But if they don't play without him, say they lose a couple games without him and don't play well, then I think their seed could be affected.
Chris Lowe, ESPN.com, will link to the story that he wrote recently on Tennessee, the NCAA situation. Chris, we appreciate you joining us today. Thanks for the insight, and we will talk to you again soon.
Okay, guys. Take care.